Hey, Al, Shane Kerwin here from Personal Survival Solutions, back at the Homestead Range, and we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday as far as basic rifle marksmanship. Today we're going to talk about shooting from the prone. I'm going to do prone supported, prone unsupported, but monopod in a magazine, and then prone unsupported completely with utilization of the sling. Okay, so I brought a Caldwell sandbag out here for those Army people or military type folks that when they're going through the zeroing process, or maybe part of their qualification, or when they're shooting groups, they have to shoot the prone supported position. A little bit more realistic context, that might be using a bag at the range. So we're going to cover this supported position, but then I'm going to get away from it pretty quickly because I'd rather put it in better context for how my practical application would be than kind of something that's really controlled. Okay, so initially what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up the Unit 4 here. We're not going to talk about zeroing today. I'm just going to shoot some groups, and this is roughly zeroed. Chris Spence from Unit Solutions and LSDS is going to provide me with some of the new Army zeroing targets, so we'll do a separate video on that. So what I'm worried about in this video is just the groups and the application of the fundamentals of marksmanship and basic rifle marksmanship. So when I go to load, I want to get it up in my workspace, which is a position of strength. Depending on where my sling is, I might have to swim out of it. I'm going to load it just like I would load my regular AR if I was at the range. I'm going to insert and tug, run the bolt forward. Okay, and now I know that I got a loaded gun. If I was on the range, I would drop the magazine because I would check to see which side the round was on. And once I ran the bolt forward, I would check to see, is it on the other side? And I do that by braille with either my index finger or the thumb of my master grip hand. Okay, so I'm going to get down in this prone position. And if you remember from the previous video, we talked about these different fundamentals. So this is holding the gun or stance or position. So when I get down into this position, anytime I'm going into the prone, I want to set up as straight behind the gun as possible. So when it's recoiling back, it should have that transfer of energy into my body. The gun should act like a piston, and I'm controlling the rifle instead of the rifle controlling me. So with this prone supported position, as I get down behind the bag, I'm going to spread my legs nice and wide apart. Now, we're going to have a hard time getting the butt stock of the rifle in completely into our shoulder because these guns aren't designed to be shot in the prone position. Okay, we just make do with what we can with them. My master grip here, the three amigos, my little finger, my ring finger, and what we refer to here as our Tennessee driving finger, is going to come up underneath the trigger guard, and I'm going to use that to pull into my shoulder. My thumb is going to be relaxed. It's going to come on the safety side, and I'm going to push myself forward. And with my support hand, when I'm shooting prone supported, I like to come up and stabilize the gun with a couple fingers, kind of C-clamp style, but with my hand turned over. Okay, now if you look behind me, you can draw a straight line down the gun, and it should come right down my back, right out my hind end with a nice wide base, because then I can use my toes to push my body weight into the gun. Okay, we can move the gun forward and use the magazine to press into the sandbag, but I kind of get a teeter-totter effect, so I like to spread it out a little bit. Okay, once I get to here, okay, I want to check my natural point of aim. So how do I do that? I'm going to get my eye in proximity to the ghost ring sight, or that rear aperture. I'm going to align the sights on the target. And then I'm going to close my eyes and take a couple deep breaths, and I'm going to relax everything in my body. Okay, now I'm not worried about up and down. What I'm worried about is left and right. Okay, if I'm left or right, I need to move my hips, which is going to equate to me moving my whole body. Okay, so depending on which way I need to move, I'm going to shift my body, repeat the process for a natural point of aim until I'm pretty much centered up on the target, or where my point of aim is. Okay, so because if I don't, when the gun goes bang and every muscle in my body relaxes, the muzzle's going to be pulled to wherever that natural point of aim is. So very, very important when we're working with fundamentals. All right. So now I'm going to move over just a little bit because I need to be a little higher with the way that this target is set up. And the targets, when we're shooting groups, or especially when we're zeroing, we want to try and get on line with them as best as possible. Okay, so we want to be on the same height. Okay, we don't want to have some weird takeoff angle. Okay? So I'm going to get into this position. I'm going to check my natural point of aim. I'm going to remove my glasses just for the fact that, number one, I don't need safety glasses with this, but because they're sunglasses, I can get polarization in them, and I can get parallax, which can throw off that focal plane and cause a shifting in my grouping or my zeroing process. I'm going to check my natural point of aim. Okay, unfortunately, I was pretty much spot on. Okay, and now I'm going to apply those fundamentals. I'm going to talk as I shoot these rounds here. Now, I'm a proponent of shooting 5-round groups because we're only human. If we throw a round or we throw 2, then we have a 3-shot group, and I can check the mean point of impact of that and then refine my fundamentals. Okay, I'm going to flip that safety off. When I do, I'm going to keep that thumb on my master grip nice and relaxed. Okay, I'm going to take the slack out of the trigger. I'm going to confirm the sight. Okay, breathing. I'm going to come to that natural respiratory pause. I'm going to breathe in, out, out. That's my pause, and I'm going to extend and hold it. Then I'm going to press the trigger straight to the rear and pin it there while it goes through the cycle of function. Okay. Once it goes through the cycle of function and my sight settle back on the target, okay, I'm going to let it out its length of travel and come back to where the slack or the wall is again. Okay. Now I'm doing that because we're in a controlled environment. Obviously, if this was a dynamic event, this is going to be accelerated quite a bit. Okay, but I want to try and follow through and do the fundamentals through the firing of the gun, okay, to set myself up for success. I'm going to do it again. And one more time. Slack out. Check the sights. Smoothly press the rear. Okay. Follow through. Reset. Slack out. Check the sights. Smoothly press to the rear. And so on and so forth until I shoot through my group of 5. Okay. We'll go down and look at them and see where they are. I'm more concerned with applying the fundamentals while we're doing this. Okay, so now we're going to get rid of this bag and add a little bit more realistic context, and we're going to monopod the gun. Okay, all the same principles and concepts apply, but instead of having a rest in the forearm of the gun, okay, I'm going to put the magazine on the deck, okay, or on the ground. Okay, some folks will say that will induce a malfunction. It won't. I've done it thousands and thousands of times. If anything, it just gives me more stability, because what I'm looking for in these positions, the lower I get to the ground, the more stable I am, and in any position I'm trying to get in, I want to be as solid, stable, and durable as I possibly can, with sacrificing the least amount of mobility as I possibly can. Okay, prone obviously being the most solid, stable, and durable position. Now, again, as I get into this position, that support hand is going to come out to the front. I'm going to rest my elbows so I have bone support. Okay? If at this point I want to utilize my sling and tighten that down, that's just an added level of stability that I can work in to be more solid, stable, and durable. Okay? My support hand is just going to be relaxed. I'm resting it on the magazine well. Okay? I can check my natural point of aim. I shift my hips just a little bit. Nice wide base. There we go. Safety off. Slack out of the trigger. Confirm the front sight. Smoothly press to the rear and pin. Okay. Follow through. Reset. Slack back out. Come to my natural respiratory pause. Confirm the front sight. Press to the rear. one more time. All right, safety back on. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do prone unsupported. So adding this magazine or putting it on the deck gives me more solid, stable, durable position. That might not always be applicable if we're out in the field. Okay, I had somebody ask me one time, they're like, well, I haven't ever been in the prone, much less had the ability to monopod it in a firefight. Well, that very well may be, but the principles and concepts of stability of what we're talking about transfer over. So just because I'm in the prone position here, because I'm in an ideal environment, I could take it and put it on top of the side-by-side that's over there, or on top of a vehicle or a barricade, and the same principles are going to apply. We're going to hit those in future videos. Okay? So when I get in the prone unsupported position, because I want to reduce my silhouette, maximize stability, I definitely want to try and use my sling if I have the ability to do it with the adjustment. So again, straight behind the gun, all the things that we were doing before, but I definitely want to use that sling. Okay, I'm going to tighten it down and I'm going to kind of corkscrew into position. So now everything is nice and tight. Then I'm going to check that natural point of aim again. Okay, I've got my sight alignment, sight picture. I'm going to close my eyes, take a couple deep breaths. Let everything relax, open my eyes, and shift my hips and my body until the muzzle is aligned up with where I want the bullet to go. Check it again. All right, look pretty good. Okay, safety off, and then relax that firing thumb. All right, we're going to take the slack out, come to that natural respiratory pause, confirm that my front sight is where it needs to be, and smoothly press the trigger to the rear. Okay, reset, slack back out, come to the natural respiratory pause, find my front sight, confirm, smoothly press to the rear. Okay. Slack out, follow through, natural respiratory pause, confirm my front sight, and smoothly press to the rear. Okay. And so on and so forth. In the prone unsupported position, more so than in the monopod or the prone supported position, you'll notice I'm up on my elbows. So I'm not having muscular support with this, but I'm having bone support. So that's why my hand is coming up underneath and I'm forming this triangle. I've got my other elbow here. The lower I get to the ground, the more stable I'm going to be. The higher I am, the more I teeter-totter. But with the gun locked in with the sling and with good position and bone structure, I have a really good, solid, stable, and durable position where I can get the shots off that I need or shoot the groups that I need. All right, we're gonna go down and see what the groups are. I think I might have had a jam up in the barrel, so we might not have too many holes in there. That's one of the products that happens with these airsoft sometimes, but that's all right. They're a great training aid, and we want to utilize them as best we can. Yep, so I only got one group here, and that was the first one, prone supported. Okay, now I only shot 3 rounds, and remember these are little tiny pellets that are in there. They're actually a 9mm, and Unit Solutions has got them flying pretty darn good. Okay, so the mean point of impact, if we look at this group, we got 1, 2, and 3 would be in the center. So if I was doing zeroing or making adjustments, I would make the corresponding adjustments with my front sight and rear sight to get my point of aim and point of impact here. Now we were doing this at 30 yards because Unit Solutions has told me that's the optimal distance for shooting groups and for zeroing, although their effective range is quite a bit farther out. And hopefully, you know, if I would have been able to shoot the other ones with a good, solid, stable, durable position, applying the fundamentals of marksmanship and basic rifle marksmanship, we would have had good groups there. That concludes today's video. We're going to get you another one here really soon, so stay tuned. Until then, though, always vigilant, always prepared, and we'll see you on the range.